How are you guys? And welcome back to my channel. So once again, thank you very much for your overwhelming support. It's been really wonderful. For 2023, we've got off to a flying start. So I thank you very much. And as I say, your encouragement, you're the ones that are you're the reason why I'm doing this. Encouraging all of you, pardon me, right around the world to speak up and to share our experiences as either former Jehovah's Witnesses or even present Jehovah's Witnesses that are disgusted by what is happening within the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. So thank you very much. So remember to like, subscribe, and also to share. I'm really grateful that we're getting such amazing reach with these videos. It's really wonderful, and I appreciate it. So personally, from me to you, thank you very much for your love and support. Now, this video is in response to the latest governing body video for 2023, in which, amongst others, two members of the governing body, Gerard Lausch and fellow Aussie Jeffrey Jackson, took up particular aspects of the Jehovah's Witness faith. And I'll try to keep it as brief as I can, even if these videos are completely unscripted, one take, and what's on my mind. So I'll try not to run over time today. But first of all, Gerard Lausch, who his discourse about the dependability of the Christian faith and the scriptures was in itself is okay, was fine from a point of view of the believer. But the segue is that because the Bible and its history and its accounts can be relied on, then that means that the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society is same. And that is something that is very distressing, because the prestige and the reliability of the Christian faith is not replicated in Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, I just went to my library, and I have quite an extensive library of Watchtower publications going back over well over 100 years. And I have in my hot little hand, I have this Watchtower. So it's the hard copy. I try to have the hard copies because that's the actual loose-leafed Watchtowers or publications are often best, because what we find is that the little gems that we find in these older publications, when it comes to the retelling or the reprinting of these publications, Watchtower goes and edits them, and they tell the recipients of these rework material that it's been brought up to present light, which is just crazy. Something that's been written should be kept as it is, rather than changing it to save embarrassment, or also to stop the difficult conversations. Now, this Watchtower here, it's from October the 1st, 1949. And the opening article is, you probably won't be able to see this, that this is the opening article, and it is nearer than they think. I don't know whether you can see that. It is nearer than they think. Now, I'm really not able to read very much of this at all due to issues that we are quite aware of what Watchtower does. But this article, and I'll try to pick the relevant bits for us. So as I said, for those who want to check it up, it's October the 1st, 1949. It's the very first very first article. It's a study article. It is nearer than they think. Now, going back to Gerard Loesch, is that he was saying, look, the dependability of Scripture, we can rely on it. What God says comes true. The prophecies of Scripture come true. They are absolutely rock bed of the Christian faith. And that is true. But this is just one example of thousands of examples of where Jehovah's Witnesses have completely deviated from the Bible. Now, I'm not able to really read, as I said, much. I will just try to go through this briefly without actually reading this due to the restraints that we have. But basically, you've got this message to the world that there is going to be vengeance against mankind, and that that Jehovah's Witnesses, Jehovah's organization, is declaring this. That is the end, so close. And I'll just read this tiny little bit. When serve notice of its coming, that's the end, they do not believe it, or else postpone it far into the future beyond their day. That's the recipients of this doom message. But the facts since AD 1914 have plainly inscribed the handwriting of doom upon the wall of that, and that's the world. Okay? So, and then it goes on to say, a prophet greater than Daniel is interpreting the meaning. And this reliable interpretation shows that the day of Jehovah is near than any of them think. I'm not going to read like verbatim anymore. We're getting the grasp of this. Okay? So, even if you were to say, oh, look, I think, yes, the world's doomed, humanity is going to be destroyed by God, even if you accepted all of that, to actually put it off to a later time, this is in 1949, you're part of the wicked world just by that attitude. And a prophet greater than Daniel. So they're saying, talking about Daniel's prophecy, the writing on the wall, is that they as Jehovah's Witnesses have this role, and I'll show you that it is a prophetic role. So if they ever say, we've never claimed to be prophets, that's rubbish. That's exactly what they're talking. They do not say, we are prophets, but they are acting as prophets. Same thing. Now, this goes on to show that it's, once again, like Gerard Loesch is saying, you've got the Bible account of Babylon, writing on the wall and so forth, and how that happened. And this is the same as what the generation of 1914. Now, this article goes on to talk about, this segue, like what Gerard Loesch is doing, talking about the Bible and then bringing it into Watchtower narrative. It says here, it follows that just as Isaiah was used by Jehovah to foretell ancient Babylon's doom, so Jesus, Isaiah's counterpart, would be used to explain Isaiah's prophecy. Since Jesus now reigns in the invisible heavens, he would cause the explanation of the prophecy to be declared to the world by means of his disciples, the modern witnesses of Jehovah. So what we have here is that you've got this association. You're using the Bible, then you're saying that Jesus is the one that's prophesying, but he's using Jehovah's Witnesses to do this. So they're at least minor prophets. Now, this article goes through to paint this picture of 1914 and then 1919. A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are not aware of the 1919 significance, which now is never really ever talked about. But it makes it very clear, and I'll just paraphrase here. It says here, like Jehovah's appointed watchmen, they're the ones that are declaring the day of vengeance and making a bold challenge to popular wishful thinking that it is not near. The witnesses of Jehovah keep up the proclamation of this day as world destruction is near and nearer than they think. I'll just read that bit again. So they are appointed watchmen, Jehovah's appointed watchmen, and they're making bold to challenge the popular wishful thinking that it is not near. The witnesses of Jehovah keep up the proclamation that this day of world destruction is near, nearer than they think. So I can't really read too much more or paraphrase too much more of this, but for those who are interested, that is this is actual hard copy of the Watchtower of October the 1st. Hopefully you can see that, October the 1st of 1949. Now, to Jared Loesch, I don't know how you sleep at night when this is simply just one of your publications in which you are at the very least minor prophets, to put it that way, claiming that you have the authority by Jesus Christ and Jehovah God, and then to write this outrageous rubbish. Now, what is so dangerous about Jehovah's Witnesses is that it is not acceptable and never has been acceptable from an official standpoint that a person might say, even if they are of that Jehovah's Witness groupthink, is that they believe that the end is going to happen the way that Jehovah's Witnesses say it is. Of course, it's not found in Scripture the way they claim it. But anyway, that you accept that, but you're not willing to accept the time frames, the 1914 generation issues, 1919, and now we've got the overlapping generation nonsense. To say, well, I don't think that it's days, weeks, and months away. That itself, in the Jehovah's Witness thinking, is people that are in line or dangerously close to being killed. Now, that was my take on Gerard Loesch. So I just got this Watchtower to prove the point. I've got a lot of other literature that I'm happy to show you. The second one, I'll just be very brief on this, is Jeffrey Jackson, fellow Aussie. And actually, I remember Jeffrey Jackson, a side point. I remember seeing him at the convention here in Queensland. That was before, believe it or not, he claimed to be one of the anointed, and before he found his way onto the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I hope that the person that hears this and knows who I'm talking about will make a video as to how Jeffrey Jackson ended up from the Solomon Islands to New York. That is a story that is worth telling, but I'm not the person to do it. Due to the person I'm talking about, their family members had a relative on the branch there at the Solomon Islands. Most people don't know that. But what he spoke about, which was just very briefly, was he spoke about Jesus' prophecy that his followers were to get out of Jerusalem and they were to flee when the Romans came. And he says that, and the example that he makes is like the blood issue and not being prepared for an emergency. So that was the segue. Now, very briefly, if you read the scriptural account of Jesus' prophecy, he basically says, when you see these things occurring, get out and flee to the mountains. I'm just very, very basic and simplified version. Okay. What have Jehovah's Witnesses done with the blood issue? And I've, in other videos, I've shown you the actual, I think it's the 1969 Watchtower, in which it bunches blood transfusions, organ transplants, and blood fractions, organ transplants, and blood transfusions all in the same group. And organ transplants are viewed in that article, right, as cannibalism, and they use the same scriptures to prove all three. Okay. Jesus' words were very simple. You see these events coming, get out and go to the mountains. What did Jehovah's Witnesses say, Jeffrey? If you have an organ transplant, you're effectively a cannibal. If you take blood fractions, that's a blood transfusion, because it's, would an alcoholic have like a little bit of alcohol if they were told to abstain? No. So it would be the equivalent, if you want to put it that way, of Jesus saying, when you see these events coming, go to the edge of the city, then come back, then go out, come back again. Yes, you can leave now, but not when you can leave. When you can see 10 soldiers come back. When it's a hot day, don't go. But if it's hot and then becomes rainy, then you can go. If it's rainy but yet becomes cold, you can stay. This is just crazy. No such thing happened. If you're going to make the connection between Jesus' perfect words, very clear, very simple message that didn't change, right? How can you tell Jehovah's Witnesses, how can you tell people that Jesus' message to flee, to be obedient, to flee, is the same as your blood policies, which have changed? And may I say, they're not just changes, they are death-dealing decisions that people made because of their faith, thinking they were doing the best thing, thinking they were serving God, thinking that they were being loyal to Jehovah's visible organisation, and they lost their lives. They lost their lives. They slaughtered themselves because of that. Okay, how can anybody in their right mind think that that is the same? It's not. So I was really moved to make this video, and I really like to be able to get out the hard copies of the publications. And as I say, if you get the opportunity to get the hard copies of the literature, please keep them. I know a lot of people leave the Witnesses and they throw it all out. I understand that. I really do. It's great to do the big cleanse. But before you throw out stuff, ask around. Somebody else might at least want that resource, because there could be just an article that that saves someone's life. Because Jehovah's Witnesses, and I'll end on this, going online, you see, you can't change that. That's, as long as the bits of paper, and they're getting quite old now, as long as this is physically there, it's undeniable. Okay? So if it lasts another 50 years, 100 years, whatever, we will have that. Online, as you know, that's between 1 second to the next, it can be removed. And what Jehovah's Witnesses want is not to be held accountable for what they've done, first of all, to the physical harm of its membership. Physical harm, number one. It's financial harm, which is the attack on people's right to earn a decent income and support their families. And of course, the most important is the spiritual harm that is caused by people, instead of, if they're Christians, giving their life to Christ, but to slavishly obeying 8 men in New York who in most cases they have no conscience. None at all. There's no apologies for anything they've done. In actual fact, as we're seeing, they're doing everything possible to silence us from speaking out, even using legal means to do it. So thank you very much. And I will speak to you soon. And thank you for your ongoing support. I'm Matt Christopher, and thank you for being my friends. Talk to you soon. Bye.